The numbers will not be right on the census in the state of Georgia due to homicides and the virus deaths since last year.
In redistricting. Republican majorities in the House and Senate have shrunk in recent elections, and the GOP can use redistricting to shore up its control of the state legislature.
But certainly the incentive is there for them to continue to engineer maps that hold on to the majority power.
No matter who is in power, Democrats or Republicans, they all tend to put their thumb on the scale.
Georgia will have to redraw 250 districts, 180 of them in the state House of Representatives, 56 in the state Senate, and 14 in Congress. The number of districts won't change, but the shapes will, with voters moved in and out of certain districts at the discretion of the legislature's Republican majority. An organization called Fair Districts Georgia plans to tie in voting data with its own copy of the new census data to produce frameworks for maps its founders say will be impartial.
And we can look at the precinct level voting results from the last elections. Then we'll be able to tell, well, exactly what the natural lay of the land really is.
Is it going to be a challenge for the Republicans to draw natural-looking maps that allow them to continue to maintain the majorities that they have?
Well, it's difficult to speculate on that. Our view is it's incontrovertible that we're a swing state. Now, the question is, how does that swing state status get reflected district by district across the state?
Creating diversity in the class. Metro Atlanta with no sign yet that the surge in COVID cases is slowing down. Now at a DeKalb County church telling its congregants, no vaccine, no service for you. Brittany Kleinpeter has the story.
Atlanta alone has more than half a dozen mega churches, some of them averaging more than 10,000 parishioners on any given Sunday. Those high numbers, combined with the spread of the Delta variant, are now prompting some faith centers to take extra safety steps.
We are not apologizing for being the most conservative and the most cautious during this period.
Piney Grove Baptist Church in DeKalb County says it's requiring worshipers to sign a waiver, get their temperature checked, and show proof of vaccination before attending in-person services.
We said we were going to follow the science, not our emotions. Everybody wanted to come to church, but we want to follow the science, and we did just that.
The church has about 3,000 active members, 5,000 total, and staff say they began requiring proof of vaccination several weeks ago. And they're not the only faith centers enacting COVID-19 protocols. Mount Ephraim Baptist Church in Bankhead is also asking to see vaccine cards. And all of the other churches seen here are recommending or requiring masks and temperature checks.
The congregations and their leaders are at a very difficult place right now because most of us
To attend, or you must submit a negative COVID test. 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks. Caitlin Ross following your reaction tonight.
Music Midtown will take over Piedmont Park in just over a month, and the tickets aren't cheap, with some VIP packages running as much as $1,300. But organizers say you won't be able to buy your way in unless you can show some proof. Concertgoers at Music Midtown this year will have their latest accessory with them, a vaccination card.
I think this was the smartest thing they could do.
Mara Davis books talent for shows and says the industry has been decimated by COVID.
These people have not been able to have jobs for over a year and a half. It's been devastating.
She says she was encouraged to see Music Midtown require vaccinations or negative COVID tests to enter. The event's website has a whole section devoted to the virus and advises people who are not vaccinated that they'll have to show a negative COVID test taken within 72 hours of the show and keep a mask on the whole time. Davis says it eases the performance artist's worries booking these shows.
You're panicked. What happens? Your drummer gets COVID or your whole business on wheels is shut down.
But for many people online, the vaccine mandate is not enough. Kelly calls it a potential super spreader event, saying hospitals are at capacity and people are buying fake vaccine cards online. Russell says he can see people doing that. But Justin doesn't think the requirement is such a big deal. Get vaccinated or stay home and listen to music on YouTube.
Is it going to be perfect? No. Will there be issues? Yes. But is this an extra layer of protection? I'm very happy about that.
Tonight, the bet need to prove that too, I would imagine. But you've got to show a negative COVID test within 48 hours of that show, or you're out of luck. Fans in the pit, you can be shirtless, but you must be vaccinated. Dead and Company will perform at the amphitheater at Lakewood for those who are living on. And the first study looked at patients at the Mayo Clinic. It found that in early 2021, the Pfizer vaccine was 76% effective at preventing infection. But when Delta took over in July, that effectiveness dropped to 42%. Over that same time period, Moderna went from 86% effective to 76%. Another study in Canada looked at older nursing home residents. It found that they produced a strong immune response after receiving the Moderna vaccine compared to the Pfizer. The researchers said about this study that the results show the elderly will need either higher doses or a booster shot forthcoming. We're getting an idea of how long protection from these vaccines will last. That certainly has been on everybody's mind. In research out of Israel, people were more likely to test positive for COVID 5 months after being fully vaccinated with Pfizer than people who were vaccinated for less than 5 months. The CEO of Pfizer has said a booster shot may be needed. The CDC and FDA have both said that they are not necessary right now. On Friday, a CDC advisory group will meet to further discuss booster shots.
Redistributing critical Medicare dollars to dole out tax credits for luxury electric vehicles. Washington thinks our seniors are suckers, but we all know a scam when we see one.
Their kids to the ER to get them tested for the virus. Don't need to do that. He's encouraging parents to utilize community testing sites that are free and plentiful instead. He also recommends anyone with kids 12 and up get them vaccinated.
As the COVID-19 situation intensifies, more and more places are looking to make vaccines mandatory. Here's the major new developments on vaccine requirements just announced tonight. A Supreme Court justice upholding Indiana University's vaccine mandate for students heading back to college. It is a signal that similar vaccine mandates will also likely be upheld. A warning from the White House about fake vaccination cards as more places require proof of inoculation. Officials say forging a card is a violation of federal law. You can get fined and 5 years in prison. San Francisco now the first city to require proof of full vaccination for certain indoor events. The new mandate goes into effect next Friday and applies to restaurants, bars, gyms, and theaters.